I couldn't hold down a job. I was maxing out credit cards. I had student loans that I completely ignored. I had gotten an inheritance in late 2018. I used that to pay my way out of debt, and I was back in debt by 2020. Hi, my name is Dee. I am 40 years old. I'm a chicken farmer in Niagara County in beautiful Southern Ontario, Canada.
Awesome. And how much you make a year as a chicken farmer up in Canada?
Last year, I made just a hair over 56,000, and this year I'm on track to make about 60,000 before taxes.
And what does your net income after taxes look like in Canada?
Per month, I would say I'm taking home about $3,500 a month, and I get extra taxes taken off.
How come?
It's forced savings.
So is it like a retirement account?
No, I just elect for HR to take additional money off, $150 every paycheck. So that way, once tax season rolls around, I can invest a lump sum all at once because I don't trust myself to invest that money every payday.
Okay, so you're getting them to basically take it out and then you get a tax refund and then you take that and invest it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, at least you admit you don't trust yourself, I guess, for investing it throughout, but I guess that's definitely a route to go about it. I prefer just investing it during that statement period or during that pay cycle, but if that works for you, it's better than spending the money, so.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about, I guess, being a chicken farmer. How long have you been doing that for?
I have been working in the general industry of agriculture for about 20 years. At my current position for about 2.
What did you do prior to this current position?
I have done butchering, small scale. I have worked at processing plants. I've worked at hatcheries, broiler farms, pedigreed chicken breeder farms, and currently with parent stock broiler birds.
And so are you an hourly or salaried employee?
I am hourly with the option to be salary if I want to.
Okay. So about 20, I think you get 24 an hour and then you're working 40 to 50 hours a week, it looks like.
I got a raise to $20.72, and I work in the slow season 38 to 40, during the busy season 55 plus a week.
Okay. And do you get overtime if you work over 40 hours a week?
No, unfortunately, agriculture is exempt from overtime pay.
And is there any 401k match?
I am working for a very small family farm company, so there is no RRSP match. We're lucky to have medical benefits covered. So I have $100 every paycheck taken and put into an RRSP account on my own.
Okay. And that is basically like a 401k equivalent.
Yeah.
Awesome. And sweet. Well, how would you kind of define your current financial situation on a scale of 1 to 10?
Honestly, I feel like I'm a 2, but realistically, I'm probably a 4 or 5.
Why do you feel like a 2?
I screwed up a lot when I was younger, and I didn't really start pulling myself out of the trenches of debt until about 2019, 2020. So I feel like I'm very far behind because before that, I was the worst of the worst credit.
Okay. So what were you kind of doing prior to that then? Like 2019, what did you turn around? What bad decisions had you made?
Before 2019, I couldn't hold down a job. I was job hopping constantly. I was maxing out credit cards. I was not paying them off. I had student loans that I completely ignored. Basically, every bad thing. I had gotten an inheritance from my stepfather in late 2018. I used that to pay my way out of debt. And I was back in debt by 2020, just buying stupid things.
Wow. Okay. How much debt did you pay off with the inheritance, and how much did you get in the inheritance?
I paid off approximately $6,000 in debt, and I was debt-free at that point. And then in the following 2 years, I racked up about $15,000 in consumer debt.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you did a completely 180, got out of debt, and then said, hey, let's actually just rack these back up. Was that mainly credit cards, or what was that $15,000?
Credit cards. And then in the last 3 years, I've paid off that $15,000 of debt.
Awesome. Well, proud of you for paying it off again, and hopefully you've learned your lesson, or at least come to the realization, hey, credit cards are not a fun game to play, and we're not going to be racking up debt anymore?
I have been actively making the lifestyle changes to stay out of debt.
Good. Well, I'm proud of you for that. So on that, let's talk about the current assets and debts that you sent over. So what I see here for assets, we have a car, about $18,000. Your retirement account, $9,247. Non-retirement investments, we have $25,816, and that's split between crypto and stocks. And then savings, $2,020. That sound about right?
I've got another $2,900 in cash that I haven't dropped off at the bank yet.
Okay. Another $2,900 in cash. And are these, I guess, is this Canadian dollars?
Yeah.
Okay. Total assets in Canadian is about $57,983. In US dollars, it's about $42,900.
Sounds about right.
And then total debts, you put $565 on the credit card. Are you carrying a balance on your credit card right now?
I needed an air conditioner. I put it on the card because it's 0% interest and 24 equal payments.
Okay.
At the time, I was trying to build my credit to get a vehicle.
Okay. And so how much longer is on that $565?
I could pay it off tomorrow if I wanted to.
What's stopping you from doing that?
It's 0 interest.
Okay. And what are you earning on your cash? That's under your mattress right now.
Fair enough.
That's where I guess I prefer just paying it off even at 0%, because if it's such a small amount, $500, even if you're earning 5% interest on it, say for the next 12 months, that puts you about $25 you're basically making in interest. So that's $2 a month, and that's before taxes. So if you remove the taxes, you're making what? $1.40 a month? Is it worth that? I mean, I'd rather pay it off and just be done with it and not have to think about it.
Fair enough. I was kind of more along the lines of, it's only a $29 a month payment, and having the money in the bank, if an emergency happened, I don't have to use the credit card.
Well, the goal should be pay off the credit card and then use that extra money just to pile back the emergency fund and get a 3 to 6 months of expenses in your emergency fund. But I think this is always the debate I have with people on cars, on anything, is they're always like, well, I want to play the arbitrage game. I want to do this or that. And even on a $20,000 car, I mean, if that car is at 0% interest and you have a 5% in your high yield savings account, granted in the U.S. our rates are coming down now. I mean, that's basically $1,000 a year you could be earning on that cash in a high yield savings account after taxes. $700 a year? That's $58 a month. Is that couple $100 a month car payment worth making an extra $50 a month? In my opinion, it's not. I'd rather just be done with it and not have to think about it.
See, I'm on the fence about taking all the money I have and just paying the car off even quicker than I originally planned, because the interest rate is high on it, and I could have it paid off in less than a year if I really hammer all the money into it. So that's another reason why the air conditioner debt has kind of been on the back burner.
Okay. So let's talk about the car then. So the car looks like the balance is $16,792 is the debt on the vehicle. And it looks like it's at an 8.99% interest rate with a minimum payment of $354.
Yes.
What type of vehicle is this?
I accidentally bought a luxury vehicle. I did not know this.
What kind?
It's an Acura MDX.
Accidentally buying a luxury vehicle. So it sounds like cars are not your forte then.
My old car was a green one.
What was the old car?
It was a Ford Fiesta.
Okay. And what made you upgrade to this Acura?
It was becoming extremely unreliable, and I spent more on repairs in a year than it was worth.
Okay. So look at your situation. We've got $55,000 in Canadian of assets, $17,357 in debt. So your net worth is $37,726 Canadian dollars. So you're in the green, but at your age, yeah, I think right now, at 40, let's see, in retirement by 40, I think by retirement, you want like 3 times your salary around that. So we're definitely behind. So it's like, okay, we got to figure out how do we push forward from here and increase your net worth and start putting things in place so when you're 60, 65, you have a large nest egg. want to talk about two things. One, what is the retirement system or plan in Canada like? Do y'all have Social Security equivalent? What does it look like there?
We have government, I forget what it's called, but we have old age security. And you start collecting that, I believe it's 62. My mother just started collecting it.
Okay. And so it's basically the equivalent of Social Security here in America. So there's old age security, and this is saying that the maximum monthly payment is $718 a month, and then 75 and over is $790. So it's not really that much.
No, old age, that one is for the really low income seniors. So you get there's two pension programs, and you either get one or both.
Okay. And what's the other one you'd qualify for?
You got Canada Pension and Ontario Pension and Old Age Security.
Okay, so Canada Pension Plan, the CPP, is another one that you'd be available for. So that one, the maximum monthly payment is $1,364 a month. That start receiving at 65. Okay. So that'd be about $2,000 in income at that point. Okay.
In today's money.
In today's dollars. So looking at your situation, you said you were thinking about, should you pay off your car right now with the money you have? Is that what you said a few minutes ago?
Basically, I would have to pull out of my crypto and my stocks, but I could pay off the car doing that.
What way are you leaning on that right now? And then I'll tell you what I think.
My loan is for 5 years. I did that intentionally, knowing that it would be interest heavy at the front, but my whole plan was to have it paid off within 14 months because I've got that forced savings that I'm getting taken out, but I can't stop that until December for the new year. So I've got that money that I'll get back in February. I've got a $5,000 bonus coming at the end of the year, and I can, using those two plus the money that I've got in the house right now, I could pay that car off by October 2025.
I think that's a good plan. Bonus money, tax refund money, throw all that at the car loan. I wouldn't sell investments for it right now.
That's what I'm on the fence about.
I don't think I would go that route. If it was like a 15-20% rate, I would. Given that's a 9%, obviously it's a little high because that's, to earn 9% after tax, you have to be earning 12-ish, 13% basically with your current tax rate on a short-term capital gain basis. I don't think I would sell everything, but I do think that's a good route to go of, okay, you get a $5K bonus, let's throw everything at the car. You get a tax refund next year of $3,000, $4,000, let's throw that at the car. And that will speed up the amortization schedule quickly, take it from 60 months down to 2 years or
14 months.
14 months that quickly. And then, okay, next year is just going to be very principal heavy versus interest heavy if you're making that kind of headway on it. So I would definitely do that at 9% interest rate. If it was 3%, we could have that debate, hey, investing it. But you already said, one, you don't trust yourself with money, investing it continuously and not spending it. And two, I think that's a great plan. Stick to that. Hey, bonus comes in, automatically go to the car. Maybe take $100 and treat yourself, or $200 or something. Take 10% of it and treat yourself, and then the rest of it go towards paying down the debt. I think that's a phenomenal idea. And then we had that paid off, $354 a month back in your pocket. Sounds pretty sweet to me. So,
yeah, because before I bought the car and had the car debt, I was saving between $800 and $1,100 a month.
Okay, yeah. So that having the car, that is a big piece of your expenses right now. So getting rid of that would definitely help give you some more margin, allow you to start investing a lot more to catch back up on your retirement contribution. So when was the first time you remember talking to your parents about money?
When I was taking out college loans for trade school.
Okay, and what was that conversation like?
My parents said, we're not paying for it, and you got to figure it out. So I said, okay, I'll get student loans, and I took out $15,000 in loans.
And what did you go to trade school for?
Utility systems, so gas and oil technician.
Okay. And is that $15,000 the only student loans you took out?
Yes.
Okay. And you paid that off when?
Oh, I didn't pay it off. I completely ignored it to the point where I don't even know how it happened, but they just disappeared. I got offered a buyout sometime around 2015 that said, hey, if you pay us $1,500, we won't bother you anymore. And I said, okay.
You're kidding me.
I found out years later that there was apparently a a security breach on the student loan database bank. And apparently a lot of people's loans got pretty much erased.
And was that the government? Were they through the government, or how do student loans in Canada work?
Through the government.
And they're just, yours are gone now for $1,500. That sounds like a scam. It sounds too good to be true.
It's completely legitimate. I have no clue how it happened, but the government stopped garnishing my paychecks. They stopped garnishing my tax refunds. I'm not promoting ignoring student loans because this was a fluke, but I'm not going to complain either.
Definitely would not complain, and definitely not promoting ignoring student loans, because 9 times out of 10, the government's not going to fix your problems. I want to talk a little bit more about your inheritance in 2019, and what did you spend all that money on? And how much money was it?
I inherited, it was approximately $26,000, $27,000. It came in 2 payments. The first payment, I took half of it and put it in a locked GIC. So I couldn't access it, couldn't touch it for a year. And with the other half, I partied like Charlie Sheen. I lived it up. Wild and crazy. The second half of the inheritance came in. I realized how stupid I was for doing that. So again, I locked the money up, and I didn't touch it. It was in my bank account, but I did not touch it. Then I bought a cheap $6,000 car at the time because my other car had died. And then we had the stock market crash in 2020. I think we all remember that. And I dumped my money into the stock market, into some single stocks. Wouldn't recommend it.
Back in COVID, like in March?
Yeah, when everything was rock bottom.
What'd you put it into?
Some REITs, some oil stocks, some Southwest Airlines, just a few random things.
And are you up on those? I'm assuming if you put it into March 2020, or did you pick losers?
I 2x'd, almost 3x'd my money. And recently in the last 6 months, I withdrew that money and I put it into Vanguard. What do you call them?
Index funds?
Yeah, index funds.
Okay, good, smart. Made some money in single stocks and moved it to a lower risk investment vehicle. So
yeah,
I've made money in single stocks. I've also lost a lot of money in single stocks.
I realized it was a fluke that I made money, so I threw it into something safer for the long run.
Retirement accounts, you have about 9,000 Canadian in your retirement account. Is that all in index funds, or what is your retirement account?
Currently, that's just in a government savings account getting 2.5%, but I'm meeting with my bank to move that into a trading account that's a retirement trading account, so that then I can throw that into index funds and hopefully get at least 5%.
Okay, good. Definitely would suggest, sitting at 2%, it's just going to basically lose value until you retire. So definitely need to get that moved into some sort of index fund to grow. And then your non-retirement accounts, you mentioned you have about 13,000 in the stock market, I think it was, and then like 11,000 some change in crypto. So the stock market, that whole 13,000 is index funds now?
Yes.
Okay, and then the crypto, what's $11,000 in crypto in?
100% Bitcoin.
Let's talk about your monthly budget that you sent over. So your income, you said, is about $3,500 per month, but on the spreadsheet you put about $2,800.
It averages out over the year because, like I said, we get 2 months a year where I'm getting really low hours, and then there's half of the year I'm getting over 45 hours a week.
Okay, so this is your average is about $2,800 a month then.
That would be my probably take home is probably closer to 3,000 after deductions.
That's actually $200 deduction into your retirement account and then $300 a month extra into taxes. Okay. And then your rent is $901, which is great. That's cheap rent. Do you have roommates? Do you live by yourself?
I have a cute little 1-bedroom apartment.
Dang, that's awesome. That's cheap. So I like that. Home utility is $90 a month. Services with your cell phone, internet, $161. So your total housing expenses is $1,152. Your auto and transport bill comes in at a whopping $823 between car insurance, $244. I guess that includes renter's insurance too. Car payment $354, gas $225. So that rounds up your auto and transport bill, which is definitely high. Groceries $400. So your total necessities $2,375. And then we have subscriptions $74 between Netflix, YouTube, Audible, Spotify. Eating out $50, entertainment $23, shopping $100, and pet $50. So you have total fund money of $297 a month. Total living expenses $2,672 plus, I guess, your minimum payment on your credit card, which is another $26. Does that sound about right?
I actually crunched my numbers for this month or last month, and my food budget was only just a hair over $300. My eating out was $100.
Looking at this, if your net income was $2,800 like we have on the sheet, but then you added back in your $200 plus your $300, basically saving $500 a month off of $3,200 if you account for that. So you're saving about 15% of your net income, which isn't the highest number, but it's not the lowest number. So it's you're saving money, which is good. The only debt we have is the credit card with the AC unit. And was that like a window AC unit you had to get for your apartment?
No, I wasn't allowed to get a window unit because that would have been cheaper. I had to get a floor model one, the portable one.
Why is your landlord not paying for that?
Because they don't.
They don't pay for AC at all? Like, did it break or is there no unit in there?
No unit in there.
Okay, that's why then. Okay. And how much was the AC unit total?
Originally $617. It was one of the cheaper ones.
That must have been recently you bought it then.
Yes, it was in July.
But let's look at the different statements that you sent over. So this is the card you have. This has $535 left on it with your minimum payment of $25. This is your investment account that is in a Vanguard S&P 500 fund, it looks like. Your vehicle I have in front of us. So you financed $17,000 total on the car. How much did you put down?
$8,000.
Okay, you put $8,000 down. That's great. Okay.
I was trying to follow the money guys rule.
I was gonna say the money guys rule. I like their rule if you're financing a car. I don't like financing cars in general, but if someone does finance a car, if they follow the money guy rules of 23.8, it's not the end of the world. You get it paid off in 36 months. Granted, you didn't take the 3-year loan out. You did the 5-year loan, but so you didn't technically follow them.
With the full plan to finish sooner.
Yeah. Yes. Finishing sooner is a better route.
I thought if worst came to worst, I could still make the monthly payment. You know, if something happened horrible, I could still make the monthly payment, but my whole plan was to get it paid off in less than 2 years.
So looking at your statements for the last month, I mean, most of these I see, we got Ryan's, is Ryan's a grocery store?
Yes. So is RCSS.
Okay. Tim Hortons.
Canadian. It's a treat every now and then.
See, I don't know all the Canadian stores. So we got a little bit of pizza. We got more Tim Hortons. Nothing's on it that's super big transactions. What is RCSSQ Casablanca?
That's it's kind of like, imagine how Walmart is a store with a grocery section. RCSS is Real Canadian Superstore, so it's a grocery store with a shopping section. It's like a Walmart Superstore in reverse.
Okay. So, I see your pet stuff on here. I mean, these are the last 2 or 3 months of stuff. So nothing's crazy on here in terms of, I see you transferring $8,000 out on July. Where is that going?
That was the deposit I had to get a cashier's check for the vehicle I purchased.
And so are you mainly, I guess it looks like you're only using your debit card then, and then you have the credit card for the AC unit. Is that the only transaction you have on the credit card?
On that credit card, that's the only thing I've purchased on that credit card since March. And in January, February, March, my cat had some medical emergencies that had to be paid for, and they got paid off immediately.
Did you have pet insurance?
I looked into it when I got my cat, but because of his existing medical condition, I was advised that they wouldn't be covering anything other than routine visits, and that's easily paid for out of pocket.
Yeah, that doesn't help. Pet insurance, yeah, it's hard when you have existing medical conditions, but when you can get pet insurance, I'm a big fan of it. My dog, I lost him a few months ago, but he went through cancer treatment for 14 months, and it was the easiest yes when the doctor was like, "Hey, we can try this, but it costs this much." I'm like, "I got pet insurance. Let's keep it going." So
The emergency vets knew our names. Yes, my cat, I had a 6-month emergency fund in January, and by March it was gone. But I don't regret it.
so you mentioned you only have that one credit card. You only have that one credit card. Do you have another credit card you're using as well?
Yes, I technically have 2 other ones. The one does not get used at all, and I have not gotten around to cutting it up or canceling it yet, but it has 0 balance and doesn't get used. And the other one is a day-to-day usage credit card. That's a Visa card, and that one gets paid off every week. That's, buy gas, buy whatever, everything.
Okay, as long as you're paying it off in full every single month. Is that the TD one?
Yes, it's paid off in full 100%.
I see that every like 7 days you're paying it off, which is great. I'm all for if you're using a credit card and not carrying a balance. I don't have an issue with people using credit cards. It's just when people use credit cards and don't pay them off, it's super frustrating. So I'm glad
you have to learn the hard way when you're not a credit card person, and then you have to earn the right to be a credit card person.
Yeah. My one concern with you is just making sure you are very disciplined with it, because obviously you have a history of debt and I don't want you to fall back into those same habits. So if you ever see yourself, okay, I'm carrying a balance on my credit card, that you have to just know you have to stop immediately.
And then the card will be cut off.
Yeah, it's got to be. But okay, good. I mean, your statement stuff look good that you sent over. I do have one question on budgeting. Do you track your expenses? You use a budgeting tool?
I use a budgeting app, but I don't particularly like it.
What app do you use?
It's through my bank, and it's called Yuli.
Okay. I'm not familiar with Yuli, but I use an app called Copilot. I've loved using it.
Yeah, and I am looking for a more detailed app, because the one I have now, it's basic. It gets the job done, but it's not going to take you to the next level in saving.
I think the few things, my recommendations would be is one, you continue to tax that car loan with all your might when you get the bonuses, when you get tax refunds, and get that paid off the next 14 months. I think that's a great goal to have, especially at the high 9% interest rate. Once you're done with that, you really have to start building an emergency fund. That really comes next, because whether it's your cat, whether it's you, whether it's your vehicle, you need 3 to 6 months of expenses in there, because life happens, things are going to happen, and that money's going to disappear quicker than you know. So right now in cash, you have $5,000, and I would say you need to have probably, I like to be more aggressive, and I like having more like the 6 month side of things. So that puts you around like $15,000 to $16,000 is where I would suggest. If you're on the low end, it's like $8,000, so you're almost there. So I would suggest bumping up that emergency fund to something you're comfortable with, whether it's 3 months, whether it's 6 months, at least 3 months though of expenses. And then from there, then you have to start investing heavily and aggressively. And with if the car loan paid off, you have the $200 a month going in your retirement account, and you have a $300 a month going into taxes. I mean, and then you had to take the car loan payment. I mean, that's going to be what? You'll have basically $850 a month that you can be throwing towards investments.
That's what I was doing before the car.
Yeah, and that can really help change your financial situation. So if you start that, will you be 41 or 42 when in 14 months?
I will be 41.
You'll be 41. Okay. So you'll be 41, and at that point you'll have total investments. You have 35,000 right now across it. We'll throw the crypto in there, not including cash, not including the car, 35,000. And so we'll round up to 40,000, because you're still putting the money in your retirement account right now, and hopefully we'll get some growth. If you continue to throw $850 a month in there, when you retire at 67, you'd have about $1 million in there. And so that helps. I mean, that path shows like, okay, 26 years is still a lot of time for compound growth. You contribute $265,000, and that grows an additional $700,000 over the course of that time period. So that really shows that, okay, you can still do it, and you can still build a phenomenal net worth with putting away $850. But it also goes to show, hey, we need to start doing this sooner than later, because if you wait until your car loan is done at 46 and just pay the minimum payments on it, and then you have $658,000 if you start at that time period. Granted, this doesn't account for, I guess, putting in $300 or $500 a month into it, but I'm just trying to point out car loan is not helping you with retirement. So
I really just want to change my ways so I can set an example for my nephews so that they can learn from me, because they're getting to be, they're almost 20. So I need to set an example.
I think that's great. You gotta start teaching them about finances. Show them the lessons that you made, or the lessons you learned from the bad decisions you made a couple years ago, and help them along the way. Because the only way that your parents didn't talk to you about money, I don't know if their parents talking about money, but if you come in and start talking about money, then you can maybe save them from going into credit card debt at 21, 22 years old and putting themselves far back in life. So I think that's a great goal to do. And then I have another question. I guess I got two questions for you. One, I want to talk about the inheritance you mentioned that you might be receiving.
Yes, my father had a health scare, so he went into the mode of, all right, let's plan. Let's tell you what the situation is so that you know. And it's a substantial 6-digit number on the low end.
And what is your plan with that money? Hopefully you don't receive it for years and years and years for his sake, but what was that conversation like, and what would your plan be if you receive it, and what's your plan if you don't receive it?
Well, my father is very financially responsible, and I should have listened to him years ago. But the initial plan is that once it gets through probate, I think that's what it's called, then the money will get locked up into a GIC for at least a year to give me time to cool down and make arrangements for what to do with it, meet with a wealth planner independent of my bank. And then hopefully the area I'm looking to eventually retire to is a very low cost of living area. You can get a house for about $100,000. So purchase a house outright and retire after 10 years or so after getting the money.
Stick to that plan. You have a plan written out in your mind that you stick to it, and don't let money get your head and make irrational decisions like you did in 2019. So
yes, that's why it's going to be in a locked account, and my plan is to work for at least 5 to 8 years after, and not live on my earnings and leave the money locked up and just don't touch it.
I have a question for you. This is a question that Ramit Sethi always asks people. What is your rich life to you? What would you be doing? What would you be spending money on?
I'd love to just get a small little house and a few fancy show chickens and putter around on my property with my show chickens. That would be my dream life.
How many acres do you want?
2 or 3 would be sufficient for what I want.
Awesome. That sounds awesome. D, what is one piece of advice you'd give to someone who has credit card debt and they don't know where to start? Because you've been there, you had credit card debt up to your eyeballs, you paid it off, and then you got it again. What piece of advice would you give to someone in that same situation?
Number 1 would be, don't get a credit card to begin with. But if you've already gotten to that point, just know that you can get out of it. You just have to be willing to make the changes. The money you spend on cigarettes or vaping, that could be extra groceries. That could be a night out. Do you want to vape, or do you want to enjoy life a little bit?
I agree 100%. And you'll live longer.